Hi, Rigsters here, back with a non-tutorial DCS video, because some people might just want me to denote that, so I've denoted that right now. This is in a multiplayer training server of the A10C2 Warthog. Now, I've only gotten 2 weeks of practice at this point, so I'm going to probably butcher a lot of different things and probably screw stuff up. So this is more of like a let's just fly and see what happens kind of video, or at least an attempt or spin on it. So let's get started. So I'm going to call up the ground crew here, and we're going to change the drip. Sorry, camo. I don't know. I don't even know what the drip means. I just doing it as a post. There we go. That's the one I wanted. So I've dragged this window down here. I like this camo the most on the A10C. So on Station 11, I'm going to put on Sidewinders, even though nothing's going to shoot at it. I'm going to put on the pods, a targeting pod, because why not? Station 10. On Station 9, let's see here. Let's put in some laser rockets. Look at this list, it drops to the floor. It's crazy. So, let's get to the laser rockets here on air-to-ground missiles. The MPP round. Really long-winded BRU-42 with 3 LAU-13 run pods, 7 by 2.5, 2.75 inches hydro laser-guided rockets, M282, MPP, APKWS. That is a mouthful. So basically just laser rockets. There you go. Welcome to DCS. And we'll put that also on Station 3. And on Station 1, we'll put on pods, the ECM pod, even though I don't need it. We'll just do that and keep it nice and simple. And I'll say copy. Now begins the fun part. Starting up the plane. So this is not a tutorial, so I'm just going to go through it. That's how I think of it as a live form of video, as a heads up, okay? So we're going to turn on the battery power, inverter, the APU start, Left Control C, coastal canopy. This is how I basically start up the plane. This is not MilSim correct, but I'm doing it the best way I know how. That gets it started consistently, and that's all that matters. I'm going to hit right Control Enter to open the words. To open the controls so you can see what I'm inputting. I'm going to turn on the electronic warfare, move all these knobs up, move this to manual. Turn on the APU gen, and turn down the RWR so you don't hear ding, ding, ding the whole time. There you go. Just turn that down. You can adjust it right here. So it is a little bit of tutorializing, but it's not going to be succinct and in order. It's just going to be the way I do it for this one. Alright, next thing I want to do, I'm going to turn on the anti-skid, which is right over here. Flip that up, do that there. And turn on these panels down here, the CCIU, the JTRS, and the IFFCC. Flip that all the way up. Turn these screens to day, left to right. Touch screens here. While that's pulling up, I'm going to hit, I think this is a default binding. Yeah, there we go. Right alt home to start the left engine. Start one engine at a time, just like with any twin engine aircraft. And I'm going to go over here to the bottom right corner panel here, turn on the CDU and the EGI. So it gets the INS aligned. Got those there. And just check to see if the engines are spooling up. Yep, left engine's almost at 60, which is good. Turn on the helmet, which is on the bottom right hip. You can even do, let's see here, is there actually floodlights? Yes, there is. You can do strobe light parties in this plane, which is awesome. Even though it makes absolutely no sense as to why you would do that. Turn on the anti-collision lights, I think. No, it doesn't let you. Oh well, so be it. But you can turn on the nose illumination lights, which is pretty hilarious. Alright, so while that's going, I custom bind this button though. This is the right engine start button, which is right shift home for the engine start right. As you can see, this throttle right here, the left one, is in the auto detent position. So I got to get the right side one to spool up because it's at 0. So I just pull that up there and watch that gauge move. Yep, spooling up. Turn on the radio, even though video killed the radio star. Turn those up and on. Turn on the IFF, which is near the throttle. Turn that to on. This really hard to see panel over. This is the only downside to head tracking, folks. I'm using a D-Land clip, so it's kind of hard to see this. This little switch right here, switch that to norm. Wait, that's emergency. Left click that to norm, and turn on your SAS. No, not the idiom. Stability argument. This is stability control. Flip those both on. That'll help to keep the plane nice and stable, even though it's a relatively stable platform to begin with. Arm in the ejection seat so I can actually see the buttons. Both engines are good, so I can turn off the APU start and turn off the APU gen. Nav, take a look here, and it's not at 8.0 on the right side for the T, so just keep letting that online. Since the ground crew's already armed the plane, which I can visually check as well, I'm gonna go to the DCS upload and hit load all. So that way it loads the TAD, the DMIS, the TGP, the page, the hammocks, the ARC 210. Do all that at once. The DSMS is your weapons page, if you want to know what that means. The TGP is your targeting pod. TAD is your map screen for the A10C. And now I've confirmed that all the dots are loaded. I'm going to just click on TAD. I'm going to sensoid the screen. And then if I hit the one button right, which I think... No, it's not that one. Is it this one? Is it this one? There we go. Got the speed to work. Perfect. Remove the joystick by right-clicking on the base. Be careful not to click the fuse box, because it's very easy to do in this plane, and then you'll pork the plane, and I'd be a very sad person right now. You can be like, I did that all for nothing. So while I'm doing that here, let's take a look. Yeah, see it, nav is still waiting. Still have to wait for the INS. Great. So while we wait for that, we'll look at the TAD here, and it can zoom in and out the map here with the control button. HOTAS DMS aft and forward, as long as the screen is soid, which is means sensor of interest. So it's just manipulating this page. So I'm going to manipulate it to 20 miles. But I can't really do anything about that yet anyways. So I'm going to arm the laser. It won't do anything, but it just has it armed. Master armed it on. I know that's not MILSIM correct. You do that usually in the air, not on the ground. Targeting pod turned it on. Move this knob for the backup climb and dive indicator. Don't remember the name. Don't care. Well, not that I never care. It's just I don't know what the name they call it, but I just know it's important. So I'm just waiting for the target pod to load up here. It takes a while for it to spool. Alright, the INS is ready. So the INS is blinking. I'm going to click the knob that says nav on the right side here. And then move the page to steer. And then if I want my autopilot to actually function, I click on down here from HARS to EGI. And turn on the EAC. Arm that, and now autopilot is enabled. Perfect. And now, let's see here. If I soy the screen, I think there's a way of getting this to. I think there's a way of getting this to show my navigation somehow. There was a navigation page, but I forgot where it was. Oh well, let's take a look at the DMS here. So if I lightly tap the screen to the left, there we go. This is the DMS screen. So this shows you that the I have 2 rockets, lightning pod, aim 9s, and a jammer pod. That's what this screen means. And if I tap the right button here, so the right button I'm tapping, if you're wondering how I'm doing that, is the koi switch left and right. And there's also koi switch up and down. This plane has a lot of HOTAS buttons, and it's considered why it's so hard is because you have to bind so many buttons and remember what they do. Alright, perfect. So we're almost ready to go here. Going to set the flaps down to 10 degrees, just to help with takeoff. Actually, yeah, just set it to 10 degrees. And then also set the nose wheel steering switch by pressing my nose wheel steering switch button. If you want to know what it is, it's the HOTAS nose wheel steering button. That's what the button I'm pressing. It'll say steered engage if you do it right. Okay. So now we got all that. The targeting pod's ready. I'm going to remove the wheel chocks and head out. Well, uninstall the boarding ladder. Even though there was no boarding ladder shown. There we go. That's what I really wanted. Perfect. Now I can throttle up and go. And now we get to see some action. An ATC spamming me. We can safely ignore that because it's a training server. Well, nobody really follows the ATC from the bots unless if it's mandatory or required. So I hit F10 real quick here. Click on the left top caret here to center on plane. Okay, good. I am going the correct direction. Word of device, if you're doing F10 while idling or moving down the taxiway, be very prudent to not go too fast or stop if needed. Okay, so I'm just gonna drive along here. Not make it take too long, hopefully. Let's get it up and in the air and have it go here. And yes, I know, you're supposed to be on the white line. If you want to be most incorrect, you point the nose on the line, so I'll trace the line. Even though back in 4th grade and stuff, I got an F in math. Or, not math. I'm used to saying math. I got an F in art. True story. So just looking left and right at the runway, make sure visually there's nobody coming in or out, because it's VFR rules, which is visual flight rules. IFR is instrument flight rules, meaning that you got to use your instruments instead of just looking around the sky saying, yeah, that looks good, that whole thing. All right, so I hit the wheel brakes, hold them, I don't throttle to 100%, let go of the brakes, keep the nose wheel brakes on for a bit. All right, now it's counting up, so we turn off those wheel brakes, or not nose wheel brakes, nose wheel steering. Still used to say brakes for some reason. Right, and around 135, 140, gently pull back on the stick. So, go. And now we have my favorite landing gear horn in the game. And then retract the flaps once we're safely up in the air. Okay, and now let's set the steer point. So I'm going to click on the steer here, go to air to ground range 1 on the practice server. And yes, this point is very slow. You think jet engines, it's going only 200 knots. What gives? It's a ground attack point. I mean, notice the straight wing. Yeah, it's not going to break the speed of sound. So just gradually go on to there. There we go. And get some height in. Alright, so now let's arm the gun pack. And then let's use the one mode that may confuse some people. So let me get the plane straight and level here. Like so, and then press the EAC button. And you'll see that you hear a little chime, and you also see alt heading. This is the default mode for the A10C's autopilot. Straight and level is the default. You got to keep it roughly close to that, and then it will keep it straight and level as long as you have enough thrust and speed. So the button I'm referring to that confuses people, and it took me the longest to figure this out, believe it or not, you need a button called HOTAS Master Mode Control Button. Yeah, that's a mouthful, but that's pretty much what it is. You need to bind that too, along with HOTAS left throttle button. The left throttle button is the autopilot engage disengage. That's how it makes that little chime noise. Okay, so that's pretty much that one there. Now I just need to make sure that the HUD is soy with the coolie switch up. And I'm cycling the weapons with the DMS left and right here. I want to get to the... Where's the button? Ah, here we go. I had this flip the master mode. Sorry. I apologize. You see, this is why I say this is not a tutorial. This is just me flying around, having fun, and trying to show you at least what I'm trying to do. It's the master mode control button. We need that first. You think, well, why can't you just click on these on the screen? Well, you can do that. It's actually going to cause some issues, which you'll see after a while. So I want to be on CCIP mode. There we go. And make sure the master arms are on. Yep. And the targeting pod. Let's turn that on. So I hit air to ground here. So I hit the pod here. And press China hat aft long down. That should get it to there. Yep, which is the speed. Good. Gonna disengage the autopilot. Climb a bit higher. Somehow I hit 320 knots in an A10, which is considered really fast. Most of the time you're going to be just under 350. But it's also really light. I'm only carrying my rockets and the gun, so it's at a very lightweight. And I'm going to use the helmet to look around here. So you see this little crosshair on the helmet, the screen here. You can also see your airspeed. Another cool thing is if you hit DMS left long, you can turn off the helmet like this. So if you don't want to see that and just want to look at the sky and admire graphics, well, there you go. But I like to keep it on. So another cool thing is you can zoom in and out this box. And what that does is it narrows and widens the whatchamacallit, the targeting pod. See how many functions you have to memorize? It's too much. But it actually is very helpful. So I think I actually have to click on the missiles in this case to actually get the rockets to work. Usually you don't have to do that, but in this case, if that happens, just box the 3 and 8 for the rockets in particular. And as you can see, their laser code is 1688. That's the universal default. As for lasers, you can always change that on the ground or in the plane. Depends on the weapon, module, and intent. Okay, so now I need to manipulate through the pod here. Zoom in a bit. As you can see, the targeting pod can see this. And if I hit China switch forward, you can zoom in and out. Wow, look at that zoom. It's really zoomed. That's how close, that's how good of a zoom this pod can get. It's very handy, very cool. So I want to aim just a little bit lower, which is right there. Now, here's an important thing to note for the A10 in particular, as I'm flying like a herpy-derpy and not paying attention to how high I'm climbing. Oh, I gotta be careful not to adjust trim because the gun pack is armed. So, anyways, the LSS and LSR you want to make sure when you're firing for yourself, either be an LSR or both. Because if you're just in IR, this is infrared. You do not want to be in IR when you want to actually fire for yourself. Just make sure it's either in BTH or LSR. Okay? It's that simple. Another cool thing you can do is with the boat head switch, once I stop getting the pod mask because I overflew the target unintentionally, is if I press this here, it can change to infrared vision. As you can see, W hot on the top right here, CCD for camera, and B hot for black hot. So I'll show you the differences once I fly out a little bit, then turn back around so you can see that more clearly. I'm going to put the gun pack to safe and reset the trim. That's another thing you want to do. You don't have to trim very often in the A10, but you do want to occasionally trim once in a blue moon if you don't want to use the autopilot. So like that here. There we go. Now we can move this plane around here. All right, we should be able to, the pod should start being able to see the target. There we go. So if you do CCD, white hot, CCD, black hot. Once I get it more in range here. It's a little bit tricky to annotate this step because it's kind of hard to do while you're flying, even in a slow plane like an A10. So there we go. So now I'm going to auto the throttle and we're going to go in there. And to fire the laser, you might be wondering like, well, wait, what about firing the laser? You press the nose wheel steering switch and you'll see L flash on here and on your pod. That means your laser is actually actively firing. And because of a herpy derpy, and I forgot that I actually didn't mark the tank in that red smoke, I need to put the pipper right here and press weapon release once I'm in effective range. And I'm also going to pop the speed brakes so I have more time. Okay. Do like a 20-degree dive here. You see this little circle counting down. I'm just going to wait till it's around the half mark on this line in there and start firing. You can fire more than one at a time, of course. And if you really hate the tank, you can fire multiple. Like that. And I'm going to pull up and retract the speed brake. And Bouncing Betty, well, there's a more derogatory name for Bouncing Betty. And I'm sure those in the audience or those that are into flight sims or the military will definitely know what I mean by Bouncing Betty. Warns you when you're getting too low, so that you pull up without being too aggressive. And let's see how many we have left. 12 and 13 respectively. So I'm going to climb up and go back around and spam the rockets one more time, and then do the gut run and go for a landing. I know it's very off the cuff, and it's also going to be a weird video, but you know what? I'm going to have fun doing it. Alright, we're back around. Let's do this again. Pop the speed brakes. We're going to do a more shallow dive this time. And then we're going to get that pod here. Fire in the laser. See here, we should get the range right around here. And now start firing the rockets. There we go. Can really obliterate that. You can really see the effects of the laser rockets there. Now we're going to speed up the plane a bit and pull the air brakes back in and turn off the laser so we don't burn it out. Zoom out the targeting pod, and now we're going to go to why people love this plane and meme so much about it. Whoops, not that button. Guns. So let's arm the gun pack so it keeps it more stable. and fly around. And we're going to do this within visual. So I'm not going to use that targeting pod designation. I'm going to climb to, I'd say give or take, like 5,000 feet, perhaps. Let's see if I can actually get to there in a hurry. No, you cannot. This plane does not like doing things in a hurry because it's slow. It's an attack plane. So the nice part about the A10, I would say, is particularly the C model. The Flaming Cliff 3 one's also a lot of fun too. If you have the Flaming Cliff 3 version, you basically get like most of the capabilities just without the cool helmet, clickable cockpit, and certain weapon types. But you can still be just as effective as you can be in the A version as the C. Okay, so what I have found here is the gun trigger, first stage and second stage. Oops, if I can actually show that better. First stage locks the target into where you want to put the pipper more stable. You don't have to do that, but it is something I found pretty helpful. I'm going to fire at these boxes right here, so press and hold in first stage to get it a little more stable. And press the second stage now. If I show you from outside, just like that. And then do one more pass here. That. And you see your ammo under CM 940. That's combat mix load at 940 rounds remaining. You get about 1,000 some rounds, which is pretty cool. So I just gotta climb around again and do it again. Gonna target that tank and that red smoke back there. That's what I'm gonna do. Just need to get some altitude again. Now, obviously, you can't go around in certain environments with the gun the whole time. As cool as it is to use, and as much fun as I have using it in DCS, it is not something you use all the time. But when you can use it, it's definitely very fun, I would say, in terms of seeing what it's like to use. So, got another way to go here. Gonna hit the first detent. Get it a little more stable here. Right around there. And that right around here. Just aim that little dot right there. There we go. And fire. You also can skip the steps by just doing this. Like that. Probably need to dive at a steeper angle for it to hit better. But that's okay. Do one more pass and then we'll head to landing. I think it's really fun flying this plane though. I mean, granted, I spent a lot of time doing this and some other planes that I have acquired as well. But I figured the A10 would be a good test for this kind of video, you know? It's quite really steep, just to really make sure people go, no, Riggs, don't climb while putting the throttle back. Yeah, you don't really want to do that unless you really want to slow down in a hurry or risk crashing. Alright, I'm going to fire at this box right here. As you can see, I'm not very good shot, so it takes a bit of practice. So I'm going to turn off the armaments here, go to TAD, and go back to base. So I think there is a tacan. So let me demonstrate real quick here the other autopilot mode it has. Which if you go down to here, you flip the switch down to out, and then hit the, if I remember correctly, the left throttle button. That whole tab's left throttle button. it should hold this turn in level flight. Now, can't really move the plane much when you're in this particular autopilot mode. It just holds it direct, so you have to disengage it to stop turning. But that's okay. I'm trying to get the tacan right now, 67x. Alright, so then we're going to turn on the tacan here, then transmit receive, and remove this dial to 6, and the next one to 7. Should be 67 X-ray. Let's make sure it actually is. Yep, it actually is on the F10 map. Let's see here. So this screen here is TAD. Let's turn off the autopilot for a moment and then reconnect it. All right, let's see here. I should have the tacan option available now. Well, thought the tacan was on. Did I turn it on? Pretty sure I turned this on. Wow. Oh, now I know what I did. I need to switch it to nav mode. There gotta be a navigation to nav, you know. Alright, let's see here. Now we're in nav mode. You should find the tacan here somewhere. Just don't remember where exactly was it. Oh, I do not know what that does. Now I'm just clicking buttons because I kind of forgot what to do with the tacan. Oh boy. Well, this is why I have issues with navigation. Oh boy. Where was that tacan button? Let's see here. That steer point should be on. Yeah, it's on transmit receive. I don't understand why it's not working there. Maybe I have to hit the alt button. Oh, maybe I have to disable the B. Oh, no, that didn't work. Oh well, you know what? I'll probably figure it out after I like do more testing with the tacan. I got it to work earlier, but apparently that is not the case. So I just got to go to Baron 152, or you know what? Instead of using tacan, we'll turn this guy off. Let's use the steer point 0, which should be home base, initial position. Let's use that instead. So if I zoom in the map with the left screen soy here, you can get to like 5 nautical miles. I didn't make it into 10 mode. Because we're about, 18 miles? Yeah, I want to make sure I turn that off. And then turn to the heading I need to go. So if I look outside with my helmet, I can see this cake looking icon that's called the speed, and it says initial position. So just head towards there. Also look at these cubes here in navigation mode. That also can be useful. There you go. It's another way of telling is looking at this cube on the HUD. It's another way of telling when that is there. So I'm going to pitch the nose down a bit. Just gently tap it down. There we go. Now we got that all settled. And then we'll put the autopilot back into normal altitude hold. Like that. Now we're in the normal default mode, which is altitude heading mode. And if you jink the stick, the plane will yell at you saying, "Warning, autopilot." Because why not? So we're heading downtown. Nice and steady. Oh, you know what I also could have done is on the pad here, You can also type in numbers as well. So if you want to go to like a waypoint, this is another way of doing it. By typing these numbers in here and hit enter. But I'm not going to do that because I find the HUD easier to use for that particular purpose. This is your fuel gauge right here. 8,900 pounds. Pretty long distance flight. And let's see here. So, landing this plane is probably, in my opinion, probably the easiest one in the game. It's very smooth, very easy to land, even if you have more weight on it. You just make sure you don't like ham-fist it onto the ground, meaning you just go straight in and under. Always make sure the anti-skid is on, of course, because it's a Air Force plane, so they don't fly on carriers. If you're in an F-18 landing on a carrier, for example, you would switch the anti-skid off for CV ops when landing, because the catapults, not the catapult, whoops, wrong terms, Riggs. Not the catapults, the arresting wire system does all the stopping for you. Okay, we're near the airport. Turn this off. Put the throttle to idle. And I'm going to just pop out the speed brakes to get some less speed here. And look around. Look around, look around. Check if there's anybody here. No, there isn't. Check the airspeed. So another good way to tell is to glance at this gauge right here. I'll just zoom it out so you can see. Now I can extend the landing gear. And if you want to be extra fancy, well, actually it's not really extra fancy. Have a flap switch. I prefer the flaps down and up command. That's the key buttons I use. It's under system. That's what I use. You can also do down center and up center if you prefer. And then I turn the nose to the runway, increase throttle a little bit because we're really low. I'm going to fall out of the sky if I don't. You can use this donut indicator right here to tell if you're on speed and on angle. You can flare it a little bit. It's not as mandatory as the F-16. You do want to do like a light flare. It's not a slam to the ground kind of plane. The landing gear is way more beefier than an F-16's though. Because, partly because it's a ground attack plane and also how it's made. So, now we're on final, as they say. We're going to need to be much lower than that. Good thing you have the air brakes out because this plane generates a ton of lift, so you don't want to be bouncing up and down. Adjust trim is necessary is another good tip I've learned over flying many different airframes in the game, virtually. Of course, this does not substitute real-life training or actual protocol. In case if you're wondering. This does not replace real life. Speed brake. Oh, I guess it doesn't like me using the speed brake. Okay. Alright, I'll retract them. That's Bouncing Betty once again. Thanks, Bouncing Betty. Oh boy, I hope it can actually stop in time. This would be absolutely hilarious if it cannot stop in time. We'll find out. There you go. See, you don't really have to follow the angle of attack strictly. It's such a slow landing plane that most of the time I've found it's not really necessary. However, I am going to pop the speed brakes and turn on the nose wheel steering, just in case. There we go. See, it's not the smoothest landing, but it landed. The tires didn't burst. And yeah, look at that speed brake. It's incredible. And also, as a funny note, the A10 doesn't really have a speed brake indicator. You just look at this. So if you have it accidentally like this and you don't know, well, just look outside your wings and you'll see the flaps like this. It's down. This is up. So now a quick little tip there. And look outside the plane real quick. This is what full flaps look like outside. And when you retract it to maneuvering speed, and fully retracted. Pretty nifty. Alright, well, that's it for this video. I'm not sure if people are going to really like or enjoy this as much as the tutorial series in F-18, but I just wanted to have fun and just fly around for a bit and show at least what I've been up to in DCS. I'll probably do one more of these or two, but just thought it would be cool to share. This is Rigsters, signing off.